the ability to explain an idea and illustrate it. And the last one, which is evaluation, it's the ability to give a judgment or an opinion which is justified. Okay, so the examiners will test these four. So the questions in paper one and paper two will include all these, and you as a student or a candidate should be able to know the material, know how to apply, know how to explain your ideas, and know how to give a proper opinion if they ask you to do this, of course. So in paper one, we have four questions, as I said. These four questions will have 20 marks each. So question one, for example, it will have four parts, or sorry, five parts. So part A, 2 marks, part B, 2 marks, C will be 4 marks, D will be 6 marks, and E will be 6 marks. So what are these marks? Let's look at this slide. In paper one, part A always, let's say, will be this type of question. What is meant? That's why in this part of paper one, which is part A, they will test your knowledge. So that's why when I say 2K, I mean 2 knowledge marks. Okay, in part B, usually it's identify two reasons, identify two advantages, or maybe calculate. It will be either 2 knowledge marks or two application marks. It depends on the question. If it's specific to the context, it will be two application marks. If it's just a general question, identify whatever thing, it will be 2 knowledge marks. Part C, it's identify and explain two factors, two reasons, two benefits, whatever. As you can notice here, I have two parts in the question. Identify, which is the knowledge, explain, which is the other part. So here, identify the 2 knowledge marks. You get them if you identify the two factors, and if you explain them, of course, by relating them to your context, you get the other 2 marks for application. In part D, it's also identify and explain, but here we have 6 marks. So it will be 2 for knowledge, for identification, 2 for analysis, and 2 for application for proper explanation of the factor or for the benefit or whatever. Part E in paper 1 is always a question which will ask you about your opinion. Do you think, do you agree, recommend? This will be the question. So here they will test your knowledge, of course, your application, your analysis, and the most important one here is your evaluation. That's why you can see 2 marks for evaluation, 2 for analysis, and only 1 for application and 1 for knowledge. Why it's important to know the evaluation mark? Because examiners here will look if you are able to give your opinion and your judgment, which is justified. So if I give my opinion in this question, I should justify why. So if they ask me, do you think question, let's say, if I go with yes answer or no answer, I should justify it. And if I justify it, I'll get the 2 marks for evaluation. Okay, so these are the questions that you will see in paper 1, and this style is always the same. So you'll always see A like this and B like this, C, D, and E. You will always see them the same. So it's important to know how the marks are distributed, to know how to answer in the exam. This is a paper 1 style. So we have a context. We call this a context. CLW makes wood furniture, including chairs and tables and so on. If you notice, A is what is meant question. You have like 4 lines, 2 marks. Then part B, what is meant by balance sheet. See here, for example, they are testing your knowledge again. It might be identify two factors or identify two reasons. So it depends, but it will test your knowledge or your application. Part C, it has 4 marks. You notice identify and explain two possible benefits. So benefit one, and you have an explanation, benefit two, and you have an explanation. If you notice, the explanation is only 2 lines here in part C. See part D, it's the same question, but if you see the explanation now, it has 4 lines because it's 6 marks, not 4 marks. That's why they give me more marks to analyze. 6 marks, not 4 marks like part C. In part E, it's usually do you think question. So here they said, do you think the finance director is right to be uh, pleased with the liquidity in 2014 and justify your answer? So here they want me to give my judgment and to convince the examiner that my opinion is correct. That's why here I take the evaluation marks. Okay, this is for paper 1. Now, for paper 2, there will be also 4 questions, but you will have a case study. And the case study will be like 1 page. And with the case study, you might have some figures or maybe a letter or a diagram or whatever. Of course, all these will be used when you answer your questions. Okay, so we have 4 questions. Each question has 2 parts, part A and B. A will have 8 marks and B will have 12 marks. So don't be afraid of 8 and the 12 marks because in paper 2 you have a lot of chances to give a correct answer since you have a case study and it's easy to get the application marks and even the analysis marks if you understand the idea very well. So the question style will be either uh, identify and explain, or sometimes they say identify and explain 2 options. They give you 2 options and they say identify and explain. So it's the same as paper 1, but you have to give more details now. So you'll take 2 marks for knowledge, 4 marks for analysis. See, they concentrate on analysis here, and 2 marks for application. For part B, it's a recommendation. So here they are testing your evaluation. They give you more marks for evaluation here. It's always the same. They give you 2 options, 2 advantages. It's always like this. They choose between 2 locations, for example, which location is better, then you give your recommendation. So here, the knowledge marks are easy to get. If you know the material, it's easy to get the first 4. Analysis and evaluation, they are not hard to get because you have to give your justified opinion. And once you know, of course, what is your opinion, you can just write why did you choose this using the context, using the case study. So you have an application mark by using the case study. When I say using the case study, I mean using the words around the case. So don't use general answers in paper 2. Be specific because you have a case study. So just work using this case study, and all your answers should be related to the case study you have. Okay, so this is a style of paper 2. 8 marks here. You notice in the explanation, it has like 6 lines. So you have to write and explain more than paper 1 questions. And part B, it's like this. It has different styles. This question has, for example, considering advantages and disadvantages of each method. Here, for example, of market segmentation, and they ask you to recommend at the end. So the way of answering will be, of course, uh, talking about the advantages and disadvantages and giving your judgment at the end. Okay, so my advice is to know the way of answering your questions. Believe me, if you memorize the whole book, you can get C or D. It's not about memorizing the whole book, it's about the way of answering the questions. If you know what the examiner wants, you can just write what he wants and you get the full mark. So if you know now that in paper one, part A, they are testing my knowledge. So I write a full meaning to take the knowledge marks. I know that, for example, in part C, they are testing my knowledge and application. So I should make my answer clear and applying to the context above and making it clear for the examiner to understand my answer. So I get the marks. So believe me, if you know how to answer the questions, you can get an A star in business studies. Okay, so that's it for paper one and two. Uh, if you have any questions regarding the papers and the way of answering, please write it in the comments. Thank you for listening and see you soon.